been said that every child is blessed with a vivid imagination. So said by the man himself, Walt Disney. Now, having an active sense of imagination is a very healthy thing. After all, without imagination, we would still be living in the Stone Age, let alone without movies, television, video games, and certainly anime. But there is a limit to everything, as well as a time and a place for it. So the question is, how far can you take your imagination before you start scaring and irritating everybody else around you? Yeah, me neither. This is Love, Chunnibyou, and Other Delusions. Love, Chunnibyou, and Other Delusions is also known as Chunnibyou Demo Koiga Shitai, or to simplify things, we are just going to call the show Chunnibyou. Seriously, why do anime titles nowadays have to be sentences long? The series started out by a light novel series written by Toriko. And that's just it, Toriko. So, what is his last name? And of course, the illustrations were done by Nozomi Osaka. The light novel won an honorable mention by Kyoto Animation, leading to its full publication in 2011. The series was then adapted into an anime with two 12-episode seasons attached to it, as well as a feature-length movie and a series of shorts on YouTube. So, what are we waiting around here for? Let's let our imaginations run wild and see what this anime is all about. So the anime begins with a brief description from a nameless narrator on what exactly Chunnibyou is.
Say, everyone, are you familiar with the term Chunnibyou? They say it develops around the 8th grade at the cusp of puberty. It is a frightening disease of the adolescent mind. The line between childhood fantasy and a sense of self-awareness becomes blurred, resulting in some inexplicable behavior. For instance, a boy who, up till yesterday, only read weekly comics develops a sudden interest in classic novels and suddenly demands to drink his coffee black, despite the fact that he has never even drunk it before.
Oh, dear God, no!
Or a student who believes they possess some special power dives headfirst into the occult.
By occult, you mean the Dungeons and Dragons sessions that they hold every Thursday night at their local comic book store? The story proper begins as we are introduced to Yuta Higashi, a high school student who once had these childhood fantasies in middle school, but finds them embarrassing nowadays. You know, instead of being ashamed of that, put your imagination to work and submit it to a manga publication or a film company. People like that are always looking for new ideas. However, while packing up his old toys, he suddenly gets distracted and runs into a strange girl climbing down a rope from the upper level of his apartment building.
Did you see?
Huh? Oh no!
Do you want to see?
Huh?
I actually find it a bit creepy that this strange girl is wanting to show a guy that she literally just met her panties. Either that or I have a dirty mind, I don't know. But just as soon as she ended up on Yuta's balcony, she disappears suddenly with the wind, prompting Yuta and, by extension, the audience to wonder,
What the hell is that?
So the next day, as Yuta gets ready for his first day of high school, it would be natural to be concerned about how the way he looks.
Hey, Kuzuha?
Yeah, what is it?
How do I look?
You look like shit.
As I was saying, he goes to the train station to head off to school, where he runs into the strange girl he met from the other night. And apparently, she also thinks that she could use the Force. His bewilderment causes him to miss the train and causes him to be nearly late for class. Much to his relief, he doesn't recognize anyone from his middle school in his class, but there was just one thing he didn't count on. The strange girl he met earlier is also one of his classmates.
My eye is resonating!
You know her?
No, I don't.
How many months? No, years have passed as I've searched for you.
She's confessing to you. I'm so
No,
jealous.
that's not what this is. This is Chunnibyou!
Really? Because it looks like LARPing to me. Although I will admit that right in the middle of class is probably the most inappropriate of times to be doing it, and it makes you look like a total weirdo, but whatever floats your boat, I guess. She starts complaining about her eye, which prompts a visit to the nurse's office, where she continues to play her stupid Eye of the Wicked Lord game she pulled earlier in class. She claims she is cursed by the evil eye of Lord Shingon or something like that, so when Yuta understandably becomes skeptical of her, she decides to show him. Yeah, it's a contact lens. You're not fooling anybody.
Oh, one moment, please. I'll put it back in.
It was a contact all along?
As I said, you're not fooling anybody. After school, he gets called out by the teacher, who asks Yuta to walk Rika home since she is new to the area and since she lives in the apartment complex right above him, where she continues to play in her own little delusional world, despite the fact that it is clearly irritating Yuta.
You just wait right here. I've thought of a new technique. The absolute fiery judgment of Lucifer! Well then.
Okay, this is getting old.
Yeah, this has officially gone from playtime to you seriously need to see a doctor time. I mean, jeez. It's one thing to have an active imagination, but to be living in your own imaginary world 24/7 every single minute of the day, we tend to call that a little mental disorder called schizophrenia. There is seriously something wrong with this girl. So as they arrive home, they discover that Rika hasn't fully unpacked yet, and Yuta begrudgingly decides to help her finish unpacking. While unpacking for Rika, Yuta's little sister takes out one of his prop swords and hits him over the head with it.
The sun shot!
Yuta puts the sword away, announcing his intention to get rid of his old toys. This upsets Rika for some strange reason, who attempts to talk him out of it. Yuta relents, and they walk back inside as the episode comes to a close. Like I said, having a good sense of imagination and childlike wonder is not a bad thing. I myself remember owning a water gun that came out during my first year of high school with a red light on it that lit the water stream a bright red at night, in which I pretended I was a stormtrooper or a rebel from Star Wars, batteries not included. Or how about when Dragon Ball Z first came out in the United States in 1998? Who doesn't remember taking one of the volleyballs from the PE bin and launching it at the side of the school administration building pretending you're firing a Kamehameha? Which irritated the school administrators to no end, let me tell you. Then you have adults who somehow manage to keep that childhood imagination and put it to work as writers, filmmakers, novelists, video game producers, artists, designers, etc., etc. As such, this anime tries to capture that point of a person's life where most people reach the point of growing up and leaving their childhood imaginations behind in favor of maturity, and tries to fit a story around it. After all, this is something we all experience at one point in our lives. Growing out of and parting with something we enjoyed when we were kids, and the difficulties of doing just that. The problem is that this anime does so in the wrong way, especially when it involves Rika constantly living in her own make-believe world. I'm not going to lie, it gets old really quickly, and the other characters feeding and encouraging her delusional rants does not help much. This is like trying to compare Suburban Nights to that stupid-as hell Tom Hanks movie. Oh my god, this is an anime version of Mazes and Monsters, isn't it? I almost didn't want to continue watching this after experiencing Rika's constant delusional ramblings. It kind of feels like it is making fun of people who actually suffer from delusions, which is typically a symptom of mental illness such as schizophrenia. With myself having autism, seeing Kyoto Animation make light of a mental illness this way by using it as a source of humor made me feel more than a bit annoyed. Seriously, I would expect this kind of humor from a show like Welcome to the NHK, but not here. But, in my opinion, the show does its best when it ditches the stupid slapstick comedy in the later episodes and grows up to portray a much more serious and mature tone. Here, more and more of Rika's broken past is revealed, explaining her escapist delusions and why she is acting the way she is, as we see this shy girl try, albeit slowly, open up to others as the bond between her and Yuta grows. It has realistic themes and relatable conflicts. It has a nice lesson that life is not all about childish games, and that people eventually need to grow up and mature. The characters are developed a lot more at this point, and it is a breath of fresh air from the dumb childish jokes of the first half. But by then it's too little too late, and it's a shame that we have to sit through a lot of dumb comedy to get there. Not to say that the dramatic last half of the series has its own issues. For instance, the change in tone that divides the comedic first half from the dramatic second half of this anime is pretty sporadic and comes out of nowhere. Speaking of comedy, the show's comedy itself is very much hit or miss, ranging from occasionally funny to groan-inducing. I get that some of the jokes are intended to show the embarrassing side of one's childhood, but the show's humor tends to be really stupid rather than funny, along with the initial concerns of making fun of mental illness. Despite this, the story does move at a very decent pace. For the most part, it is not bogged down with character of the week episodes that are so prevalent in shows like this. Don't get me wrong, they are there, but the anime thankfully doesn't spend too much time on them. It takes a decent look at childhood imagination and the challenges of growing up, despite my concerns, and for that I give story 4 stars. The anime's opening theme is Sparkling Daydream by Zack, and the ending theme is Inside Identity by Black Raison d'Etre, the latter of which was sung by the female cast of the anime. The show's soundtrack is very much a matter of taste. Personally, I like the opening theme much more than the ending. While not as gimmicky as the opening themes to previous Kyoto Animation shows, it fits rather well and gets the viewer situated for the mood of the show. The main thing that I don't like about the ending theme is that it doesn't fit very well during the dramatic second half, and it feels jarring and out of place when the episode concludes with a dramatic or heartwarming scene. The soundtrack is also quite lighthearted and reflects upon the comedic mood of the settings and characters. When there are battle scenes, though, it swiftly changes to a more fast-paced rhythm to make it look like it's real, despite the fact that it's just the characters making out their delusions. With that, I give soundtrack a 4 out of 5. The animation is beautiful and sports very detailed visuals and character designs with deep, sharp colors as expected from Kyoto Animation. It is the typical cute high school setting as well as cute girls doing cute things that Kyoto Animation is famous for. No problems there, but I wish that Kyoto Animation would attempt any other genre of anime besides the high school setting. The so-called delusion battles are a step in the right direction, but the fact that we may actually see a fantasy anime from Kyoto Animation remains to be seen. It seems as if Kyoto Animation is finally breaking out of their conventional shell and trying something new-ish. Did I mention the delusion battles? Every so often in the series, Rika and Sanae will have magic battles, where the series pauses to show them using magic and or fantastical weapons to fight each other. In reality, they are simply slapping people or using small objects and pretending they are weapons. Despite the uptick in animation quality during these scenes, I always felt awkward laughing at them. The background animation is also something worth mentioning. The details of each picturesque background really stand out in a spectacular fashion. This is another Kyoto Animation trademark where they take pictures of a real place and animate over them. The art is really beautiful. I have nothing bad to say about it at all. And that is why I give it a 5 out of 5. And so, when describing the characters, it's back to La La Land. Despite an initial annoyance with the two main characters, Yuta and Rika, they become more tolerable and likable as the show progresses and as more of their backstories are explained. The title of Most Annoying Character in the show, by the way, goes to Sanae Dekamori. The two actually become a rather cute couple as the story progresses, and the two fit and support each other very nicely. The other characters equally play a major role in the story throughout, and thankfully are not throwaway characters like a lot of characters in this genre of anime are. While each of them have their own eccentric behaviors, each character has something special to bring to the table, so every interaction in the anime is interesting to watch. But they don't come out without their own annoyances either. Like, for instance, this whole running gag about how Dekamori sees Nibutani as a fake writer known as Mori Summer. Another one of the girls is named Kumin, who apparently is a hugely lethargic girl as she is constantly seen falling asleep even in the strangest of places. Despite a few annoyances, they are a rather lively bunch, and they do keep some of the situations in the show at least entertaining. They keep the main characters on track, and are at least somewhat funny. They can be annoying, but thankfully not overwhelmingly so. So for that, I give characters a 3 out of 5. I guess the moral of the story is that even as you grow up, you don't have to leave all of your childhood hobbies and interests behind. Maintaining your childhood sense of wonder and imagination into adulthood is not necessarily a bad thing. But while having a vivid imagination can be wonderful, using it in the wrong places tends to annoy everyone else around you or just make you look really stupid. While this anime does have its merits, it does fall flat in some places, usually with its understandably absurd sense of humor. However, it tackles the issue of growing up quite nicely and is about enjoying your childhood while you can, because once you reach adulthood, you'll surely miss it. And with that, I give Love, Chunnibyou, and Other Delusions 4 points for interest and an overall rating of 7 out of 10. And with that being said, after a 2-month hiatus, it is good to be back. Now, hopefully with everything settled, we can return to releasing a new review every other week or so. There are a lot of new things coming down the line, so until then, this is the American Anime Otaku, signing out.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.